Did you know your brain's fear of vulnerability can sabotage even the strongest connections? Studies show that 68% of men unknowingly push women away by using outdated psychological defense mechanisms without even realizing it. Today, we're unlocking the 9 hidden mistakes that smart men avoid, and I promise you'll be surprised how simple the fixes can be. Get ready to understand what works and what doesn't in relationships. I've spent years analyzing research from relationship experts like Dr. George Simon and combing through surveys from 500 plus women. These mistakes aren't about being bad. They're about understanding how emotional safety works. Let's dive into how to avoid these mistakes and build deeper, more authentic connections. Mistake number 1, the passive-aggressive helper trap. Have you ever promised to help only to leave things half done, telling yourself, "I'll do it later"? The truth, that's not just a small slip-up, it's a silent relationship killer. This is the passive-aggressive helper trap. It's a form of strategic incompetence where you act like you're offering help, but in reality, you're avoiding emotional responsibility. Here's the catch. Women notice. They don't just care about what you say, but about what you do. Inconsistent actions speak louder than grand gestures ever will. Women, by nature, are wired to seek reliability. It's an instinctive survival mechanism. They track consistency in their partners because they crave emotional safety. And here's the harsh truth. When you say, "I'll do it later," and don't follow through, even with the best of intentions, it sends a silent message that you can't be counted on. And that's what hurts the most. But here's the good news. You can turn this around starting right now. Replace "I'll try" with "I'll handle this by Tuesday." Be specific. Be reliable. It's about more than just showing you care. It's about proving you can be counted on. It's not about perfection. It's about consistent, dependable action. When you follow through, it's more than a task completed. It's a promise kept. And in relationships, promises matter. They build trust. A study by Dr. Emily Morse revealed that in relationships, reliability is often valued far higher than spontaneous romantic gestures. Women want to know they can trust you, not just in the big moments, but in the everyday ones. Being specific and consistent builds trust. And trust is the foundation of everything. And it's not just about action. It's about understanding the emotional underpinning of your behavior. When you fail to follow through, it affects more than your partner's trust. It can make her feel emotionally disconnected. But don't worry, we're going deeper into this next. Stay with me, because what we're about to explore can change the way you show up in your relationship forever. Mistake number 2, emotional minimizing. You're overreacting. How many times have you brushed off her emotions with a simple, "You're overreacting," or "calm down"? It may feel like just words to you, but let me tell you something powerful. Dismissal is pain. Stanford research reveals that when you minimize her emotions, it triggers the same areas of the brain that physical pain does. It actually hurts her. It cuts deeper than you think. Those small words can feel like a silent punch, leaving scars that might not be visible, but are deeply felt. And yet, this is a trap so many men unknowingly fall into. In that moment, when you dismiss her, she begins to question her worth, her voice, and even her connection to you. What you might think is just a reaction from her is actually a cry to be heard. But here's the game changer. You don't need to have all the answers or fix everything to make things right. The 3-second rule. Pause, breathe, reflect. In that precious moment, take just 3 seconds to say, "I hear you." Not "calm down," not "you're overreacting," just "I hear you," and then give her a gentle, understanding nod. This simple act of slowing down and being present can change everything. Here's why it works. That pause, that moment of acknowledgement, triggers her mirror neurons, allowing her to feel seen, heard, and validated. It tells her, without words, "Your feelings matter to me." And when she feels understood, her brain releases stress-reducing hormones. You've just created emotional safety. And in that safe space, conflicts transform from barriers into bridges. Now imagine this. You've shifted the dynamic, you've shown empathy, and suddenly the whole conversation changes. But what happens next after you've started listening? Well, you'll need to be aware of another crucial mistake many men unknowingly make. Mistake number 3, the fear of intimacy avoidance cycle. You've probably been there. The desire to connect, to open up, but the moment you feel it's getting too real, you pull back. That fear. The fear of vulnerability. It's not just a passing feeling. It's a silent wall that you build around yourself. Many men confuse closeness with losing their freedom. But what they don't realize is that this wall also isolates them from the very thing they want most: true connection. Research shows that for many, this avoidance of intimacy doesn't just come out of nowhere. It often stems from unresolved childhood patterns. A Reddit user shared that he spent years ghosting partners because he was terrified that opening up meant losing control, that exposing his fears, his true self, would be like giving someone the power to hurt him. But here's the heartbreaking truth. It's not closeness that drains freedom. It's the constant emotional distance that leaves both people feeling empty. And if you want to break free from this cycle, it starts with courageous vulnerability. The fix? It's simple, yet profound. Schedule vulnerability windows. Just 10 minutes a day where you allow yourself to speak from the heart, to say what you're afraid of, what you hope for, and what emotions you've been holding in. I know it sounds small, but these moments where you allow yourself to show your truth shift everything. They rewire that fearful, protective instinct and start building trust, one conversation at a time. Researchers have shown that small acts of emotional vulnerability don't just strengthen a relationship, they amplify the connection in ways that paradoxically give you more freedom. True freedom isn't in avoiding closeness, it's in embracing the strength that comes from being real with someone, that knowing they accept you for exactly who you are. This isn't just about emotional closeness, it's about being whole and real. Let that sink in. The more you share, the more you connect. And with each vulnerable moment, you reclaim not just intimacy, but a freedom that's deeper and more fulfilling than you ever imagined. Now that we've broken down that wall of fear, let's talk about a mistake that makes you feel emotionally invisible, even when you're trying your hardest to show up. Mistake number 4, the hyper-independence trap. I don't need help. Picture this. You're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, determined, strong, and completely alone. Maybe you tell yourself, I don't need help. I've got this. But here's the truth. Evolution wired us to bond through mutual reliance. We are not meant to carry everything on our own. Yet many men, afraid of appearing vulnerable, embrace hyper-independence, and it's breaking them apart, quietly, slowly. Think about that for a second. Men who allowed themselves to lean on their partners saw 40% more lasting relationships. This isn't just about boxes or tasks or doing it all by yourself. This is about emotional connection. And the real question is, are you willing to let her in, even in the smallest ways? Because when you allow yourself to accept help, you're not just getting a hand with a task, you're building a deeper emotional bond. Mutual reliance creates intimacy on a level that independence can never. It's in these moments of vulnerability, when you let her share in your struggles, that emotional intimacy grows. So here's the fix. Start with something small. Ask her for something simple like, can you help me pick an outfit? It might seem small, but these moments are the threads that weave you closer together. By asking for help, you're not giving up control. You're inviting connection. It's in these small acts where you let go of the need to be perfect that you allow love to grow. Don't fear it. Let her in. Embrace the beauty of reliance and watch your bond become something stronger than you ever imagined. Mistake number 5, the comparison game my ex used to. Have you ever caught yourself comparing her to your ex, even just in passing? It's a dangerous game that many men don't even realize they're playing. But here's the truth. When you bring up the past, you aren't just recalling memories, you're creating emotional distance. UCLA's groundbreaking research shows that idealizing an ex doesn't just hurt the moment, it triggers her mate-guarding anxiety, that deep, primal fear of losing someone. Her brain instantly starts preparing for emotional defense, lowering her oxytocin levels and making her feel less connected. This is the silent killer of intimacy. Every time you say, my ex used to do this, or she was better at this, you unknowingly drive a wedge between the two of you. Now, I know that memories are powerful and past relationships shape who we are, but here's the secret. Your partner doesn't want to compete with your ex. She wants to be seen for who she is and loved for who she is right now. She's not looking to be measured against the past. She's longing to create a future with you. So, what's the fix? Simple. It's about shifting the conversation from nostalgia to appreciation. Instead of saying, my ex used to do this, try owning the present. What I learned from my past relationship is how much I value this thing about you, and you excel at that in ways I never knew I needed. This isn't about erasing the past, it's about honoring your partner in the present. It's the past-present pivot. You acknowledge what you've learned, but you celebrate her for being the unique person who deserves your full love and attention today. Every time you do this, you strengthen the bond between you and elevate your relationship to a deeper, more genuine level. Redirecting that nostalgia, the longing for the past, into deep appreciation for the present not only increases her sense of emotional connection, but it releases new bonds of trust. It opens her heart, helps her feel safe, and reinforces the emotional intimacy you both need. That's the real magic. When you stop comparing and start valuing, you unlock the future. A future where you both can grow together without shadows of the past clouding your path. Remember, the past will always be part of you, but it's the present that defines what's to come. So choose to celebrate her right here, right now. And when you do, the love between you both will only grow stronger. Mistake number 6, over-explaining the logic overload. You've been there, haven't you? You're trying to explain yourself, trying to make her understand, but the more you talk, the further she drifts away. You bombard her with logic, facts, and explanations. But here's the truth. When you over-explain, you shut her down. The brain can only handle so much before it starts shutting out the noise. Therapists call this the flooding effect. Her brain simply stops processing your words after 90 seconds of continuous criticism. And that's when the connection breaks. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be this way? What if the key to saving that conversation lies not in what you say, but in how you say it? The solution is simpler than you think, and it's not about more words. It's about empathy. Start with emotional validation. When she's upset, don't just dive into fixing it. Acknowledge her pain first. A simple but powerful phrase like, "I'm sorry you feel this way," does wonders. It's not about agreeing with everything she's saying. It's about showing her you see her, you hear her, and most importantly, you understand. Empathy first, always. This triggers her brain's empathy circuits, creating a bridge between you and her. It creates emotional safety, which leads to more productive, loving discussions. Now, when you do move into problem solving, it will feel like a team effort. She'll be open to listening because you've made her feel safe, understood, and valued. And that is where true connection begins. Remember, the most powerful men aren't the ones who can explain the most. They're the ones who understand the most. They know when to lean in with empathy and when to lean back and listen. And that's what makes all the difference in building a lasting, deep connection. Mistake number 7, the invisible resentment buildup. Have you ever felt that quiet pressure building inside you? The anger that stays hidden, buried under layers of "I'll let it slide"? This invisible resentment builds up until one day something trivial sets it off, and suddenly, a tiny spark causes an explosion. You're not just angry about the moment, it's everything from the past that's been left unspoken. You're not just fighting about the dishes left out, you're carrying the weight of every unresolved issue from the last few months, even years. Covert narcissism, this hidden emotional warfare, happens when we bottle up our frustrations, thinking we're avoiding conflict. But what we're really doing is building a wall of resentment brick by brick. One wife shared, "He would bring up things from 5 years ago in every fight, things I thought we'd moved past." Can you imagine how that feels? A lifetime of hurt pouring out when it all becomes too much to carry. That moment, when we're too afraid to speak up, becomes the tipping point, and suddenly, everything is bigger than it needs to be. But here's the truth. You don't have to let it get this far. The key to breaking this cycle? Weekly air clearing sessions. Just 5 minutes a week. Just 5 minutes to voice your small annoyances before they transform into an avalanche. Imagine the peace that comes from saying, "This bothered me, and I want us to talk about it now." The power of this simple act is life-changing. It clears the air, restores connection, and gives space for healing before the resentment has time to take root. Research shows that small emotional releases, when shared regularly and openly, stop resentment from building. They prevent those moments of silence from turning into explosive arguments. This is the foundation of healthy conflict resolution, allowing both of you to express your feelings freely and without fear, without guilt. It's not just about solving problems, it's about connecting in a way that builds trust and keeps the emotional connection strong. So take a moment now. Think about the walls you've been building, the resentments you've been silently carrying. Are you ready to break them down? Start small. Start with just 5 minutes to clear the air. Your relationship deserves it. You deserve it. Mistake number 8, Performance anxiety and intimacy. Let's talk about a silent killer in relationships. Performance anxiety and intimacy. You've probably felt it before, the pressure to always get it right, to deliver the perfect date, the perfect gesture, thinking that if you don't, you'll lose her or let her down. But here's the truth. You're not alone, and this anxiety is something most men struggle with, even if they don't show it. In fact, a 2024 study revealed that 72% of women care far more about emotional presence than any grand romantic gesture. So all those moments of stressing over a perfect plan, they're not what she's craving. She wants you. She wants your real self, your authenticity. What really connects people isn't perfection. It's presence. It's being there emotionally, vulnerably, genuinely. And here's the secret. You don't need to plan everything. You need to plan just enough, and then leave room for the unexpected. It's the 70-30 rule. Plan 70% of the date, but let the other 30% be spontaneous. Let the conversation flow, let her laugh at something random, let the evening breathe with unexpected moments. That's when true intimacy happens. When you allow that space, when you let things unfold naturally, it builds something far more valuable than perfection. It builds trust, comfort, and genuine connection. You stop being so focused on what you're supposed to do and start focusing on how you're making her feel in the moment. And let me tell you, that feeling of being emotionally seen, heard, and understood, it's worth more than any expensive date or carefully curated surprise. Spontaneity in relationships is the key to emotional intimacy. It breaks down walls and creates a deep sense of comfort. It allows both of you to be vulnerable, and it's in those moments of imperfection that real love begins to grow. So take a breath. Let go of the fear of not being perfect, and as you start embracing more of your authentic self, you'll see how much closer you'll get to her and how much more meaningful your connection will become. Because intimacy isn't about performance, it's about being present. And presence is the most powerful gesture you can give. Mistake number 9, the fixer mentality. She comes to you with her struggles, her fears, her heart laid bare. But here's the truth that most men don't realize. She's not asking for a solution. She's asking for connection. What she craves in that moment is not your advice, not your expertise, but your presence, your willingness to simply be with her in that raw, vulnerable space. Harvard research reveals that when men dive straight into fixing problems, they inadvertently shut down the one thing that makes a woman feel truly seen: vulnerability. It's like putting up an emotional wall just when she's trying to tear it down. She's not seeking quick fixes. She's seeking empathy, understanding, and acceptance. And when you offer solutions without tuning into her emotions first, it can feel like you're dismissing her feelings altogether. Imagine this. When she opens up to you, instead of immediately jumping to fix her problems, you offer her something far more powerful, a safe space to be heard. You ask with genuine care, do you need advice or just someone to listen? You've just unlocked something extraordinary, the emotional safety she needs to truly trust you, to reveal more, to deeply connect with you. And guess what? She feels safer with you. She feels like you see her, not just the problem she's facing. Here's the game changer. Listening without fixing. It might seem counterintuitive, but it works. When you listen from the heart, when you validate her emotions without rushing to offer solutions, you create a safe, nurturing space for her to open up even more. She feels heard, she feels supported. And that's when the magic happens. That's when she begins to trust you with the most vulnerable parts of herself. By embracing this simple shift, by becoming the listener instead of the fixer, you create a bond that's stronger, deeper, and infinitely more meaningful. Because in love, it's not about solving every problem. It's about being there in the moments that matter most. Let that be the foundation of your connection. Here's the truth. These aren't just mistakes. They're learned survival mechanisms. Patterns we pick up not because we want to push people away, but because we're trying to protect ourselves. But now, you're no longer trapped in those old habits. You've just unlocked the power to change. The men who thrive in relationships don't need to be perfect. They simply understand the vulnerability that builds emotional safety. And that's where true connection begins. Think about it. What's the one thing that's been holding you back? Is it the fear of being vulnerable? Or maybe it's those old defense mechanisms we've all fallen into. Drop yes if you've recognized yourself in any of these patterns, because you're not alone. We're all learning, evolving, and becoming better, step by step. And if this video sparked something within you, tag a friend who needs to hear this too. We rise together. Let's start the conversation. And trust me, you won't want to miss next week's video. We're diving deep into female psychology's biggest myths, unlocking secrets that will change the way you connect with the people around you. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Let's continue this journey, because this is just the beginning. See you next time, my friend.